two. There's one that I have that's 4 minutes, but you need to see it. This one's longer, and I think it's a good way to start off to listen to Joe. So let's play it. This is fresh, just a couple of hours ago. He's in our youth.
Good evening, all. To everyone there at Stonebridge Country Club tonight, and thank you, Jim, for this opportunity to connect with you all. My name is Joe Lindsay. I'm talking from Kharkiv, Ukraine. Really a beautiful city, inspiring city, just about 30 miles from the border with Russia. It's kind of hard to believe. Here, we have lots of air alarms, but the missiles often arrive before the alarm sounds. And so I'm an American who happily got stuck in Ukraine during the pandemic. I found it to be one of the freest, if not the freest, most peaceful, vibrant places that I've seen in my world travels. And then when Russia launched its full-scale invasion, I, perhaps crazily, resolved to stay here every single minute until victory. And now for more than 500 days, every single weekday, I speak on Chicago's WGN radio and host Bob Surratt, an opportunity to share as much as I can to put you to show you what it feels like to live and exist in a country at war, and to share as much as I can of the stories of the soldiers and the volunteers and everyone collaborating for victory, whether they're Ukrainians or foreigners here. And so you can tune in every day on Chicago's WGN. We also share those stories on social media. We have video versions of those daily reports. UkrainianFreedomNews.com. You can find the links to YouTube and Instagram and everything else. And our volunteer hub, Ukrainian Freedom News, which we started in the first hours of the full-scale invasion, just a group of friends getting together. We have 40 volunteers and soldiers when they need rest in between missions or battles. We also connect the most effective volunteer groups, connect people with ideas to people with money, help solve problems for volunteers to make their work more effective. And then, especially now, lately, to assist in the grueling counteroffensive, the slow and steady counteroffensive. Each week, we are raising money for a specific soldier or unit. Either the foreign governments provide big things like the tanks, the HIMARS, ammunition, but the individual soldiers, this is how Ukrainian democracy works. It's a very free society, and individual soldiers tell their friends and family, hey, here's what I need to get my job done more effectively. Equipment is always being damaged and breaking down, so every week we are resupplying frontline warriors with trucks, with drones, night visions, rifle scopes, all kinds of things. And we welcome support for these efforts. You can go to UkrainianFreedomNews.com, and we like to, we share stories of specific soldiers and what they need, and we show our audience, the delivery and receipt of those items. And this is the beautiful thing. For the first time, despite the hell of this war, for the first time in human history, someone sitting in your kitchen, in Aurora, Illinois, or California, or India, or anywhere, can participate in the stand against genocide in a real way. I met Jim at the amazing Frontline Kitchen. It's really one of my favorite places in Ukraine because it's so inspiring. Every time I stop by the kitchen, you see a reflection of the whole world, people from everywhere, of all different ages, who with great courage, they got on that train in Warsaw and crossed into the land at war. And that moment, that decisive moment, requires a lot of courage. You don't know what you're facing. And recently, there was a Russian drone strike on the city of Lviv. It was pretty terrifying. You can hear that long moment-like sound of those Iranian suicide Shahed drones, and you hear the Ukrainian air defense frantically trying to shoot down these drones. And they shot down two. One of them hit its target. And the next day, I went to the Frontline Kitchen, and there it was, volunteers from Texas, from New Hampshire, from Germany, grandmothers, parents, young people, all sitting there diligently and cheerfully chopping the vegetables and the meat to prepare this nourishing, non-chemical, real natural nourishing food for the soldiers. Because no one fled because of that strike through the night. They stayed there with absolute courage. And so the Frontline Kitchen is, I think, there's one, I know it's one of the most effective groups in Ukraine. More than 20,000 meals a day provided for frontline soldiers. As Jim, I'm sure Jim's going to tell you great stories about it. So thank you all. Thank you, Jim, for your work. And thank you all for listening. And I invite you to tune in to our radio. Listen in the morning. It's at 7:19 in the morning every day, but you can also listen anytime online. Just go to ukrainianfreedomnews.com. And we also welcome support. If you select you go to our website, support us. The tax-deductible option enables us to buy trucks and drones. The PayPal option supports our operations. We house volunteers when they have some emergency. And it also enables us to buy things like rifle scopes, things more intended for battle. That's the PayPal option. But either way, ukrainianfreedomnews.com. Please listen and share. The big effort now is the information battle, especially in the United States, to share the reality that this is a free country. More and more Americans realize how fiercely free and democratic the Ukrainians are, despite what all the propaganda says. This is a lovely place, and I invite you all, those of you who are able, to make the journey here. You get in touch with us, we can help you make sure it's as safe as possible. But thank you so much for listening and paying attention. Slava Ukraini, Slava USA, glory to USA, glory to freedom. Дуже дякую. This is Joe Lindsley speaking to you from Kharkiv, 30 miles from Mordor, 30 miles from Russia, and let's all keep standing together.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger as a safe all the world.
And you'll see here my friend, great Ukrainian warrior, laughing there on the left-hand side. And this next scene, you see him lying on the ground, pretty horribly wounded in the counteroffensive. And just a reminder of how quickly everything changes. He's healing now and getting better, but a reminder of how important it is to keep these guys well supplied as they stand against this evil menace.
Wow, that was only the second time I saw that, so Joe's a pretty cool guy. I was able to spend some time with him in Lviv, had a few drinks with him. By the way, that explosion that took place was basically the distance from where I was staying, where a number of my friends were, was from here to Jewel. And it killed 10 people, seriously wounded 40 people. A number of my friends went and helped with demolition and continue to help the people that are recovering. So anyway, I want to thank Joe. It's nice to shout this out here at Stonebridge. Before I forget, there's two things I need to cover. A lot of people know my sidekick, Robin. That's my girl, and I love her, especially tonight. Now, one other thing, but as we're getting started, I'll give you some more here in just a moment. A few of us, there was a few people down in the pro shop the other day, and we were speaking of my presentation, and somebody said, well, we need to have an over and under on your, how often you're going to tear up. And right away, Steve Gilly said, whatever it is, I'm betting on the over. So that's probably going to happen a few times tonight. Now, I'll share with you maybe why that happens, a few things that particularly touched me. But right now, I want to officially welcome you to Ukraine. We're going to play a song. You're going to hear it twice tonight. You might find one a little bit different than the other, though. So go ahead, Glenn.
Like a burning flame.
tell you why that song was touching to me. When I crossed the border from Poland into Ukraine, this gentleman's my driver. And that's Yuri. He knew no English, and of course I knew no Ukrainian. But as soon as we cleared the border, he started playing that song. He said, Jimmy, listen, oh, whatever he was saying. Welcome to Ukraine. And I can tell you, I said, I'm here. So let's get started. Let me tell you a little bit of my story. For me, it was a life-changing experience. It truly was. And a little bit later, too, I'll tell you, within those 4 weeks, I had what I refer to as the most profound day of my life. I know we all think of days we can say that we remember clearly, 9/11, JFK, those types of things, but you may want to think about for yourselves, what is the most profound day that you've had in your life? I had it on May 21st, so I'll tell you about that a little bit later. People ask me why did I do this? I can just tell you that I felt this is good versus evil. There's no two ways about it. It's good versus evil. And at some point in your life, you have to stand up for something. And that's what drove me. Now, I had some other signs, some other angels that guided me, but I really believe that. It is good versus evil. I was, certainly I landed first in Lviv and spent a good amount of time in Lviv, in western Ukraine, but also went to the capital of Kyiv, spent time in Rivne, which is closer to the Belarus border, and then also a day in a rebuild in Bucha. And for some of you that may recall some of the horrors of the war there, I'll talk about that just a little bit. So, how did it happen? How did it happen? And what else drove me? Can you show the next slide? Some of you may recognize this particular poem. It was written by Pastor Martin, I believe it's pronounced Niemöller, German. He was an anti-Semite and a member of the Nazi Party during World War II. 1946, though, somewhere in between, somewhere at the end of the war, he did have a change of heart. One that was very moving. He wrote this poem. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. And they came for the socialists, and I didn't speak out because I wasn't a socialist. Not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, because I'm not a Jew. I didn't speak out. And they came for me, but there was no one left. So I recall that, and it touched me, and that drove me to say, hey, you have to take action. So it was very meaningful to me. So my journey began last September. Last September, I scheduled a trip to Poland. As a history buff, I was a political science major. My father was a POW in Romania in World War II. I wanted to go to Auschwitz. And also, folks that helped us with our home, they had moved back to the town that is Auschwitz, so it was great. Flew into Krakow, did some touristy things, loved it. Krakow's a beautiful city. Went to Auschwitz. And instead of doing some other touristy things and continuing my vacation, I said, you know what, I'm going to take a bus ride to the border. And so I went. It was about a 4-hour trip. I got to the border. It was a dreary day. And the particular border crossing that I was at, it was like out in the field of corn country in Illinois. There's some buildings, and there's some UN tents, and people were coming and going across the border. And I talked to somebody and said, can I go across the border? Sure. I don't know when you expect to come back. It's sometimes difficult. And it hit me at that time that I didn't want to go there as to say I stepped in Ukraine and I'm a tourist, to say I was there. That's the wrong thing. But I had to wait around for several hours and until the next bus would come. And they only had one cafe. It was a cafe with a counter. Maybe had 7 tables. A Polish woman behind the counter. Somehow I was able to figure out how to get a bowl of soup and a beer. So sat down, and I had spoken to some refugees, people coming back and forth when I was standing, going back and forth within a couple of 100 yards of the border. But a woman, I'd say somewhere in her 30s, came in with a young boy. And she went up to the counter, maybe we're here to Robin, and the woman behind the counter had a Pepsi, and she held it in her hand, and she's talking to the woman that had come in, and all of a sudden, the can of soda was pulled away, and the woman turned away and said something to her son. I said, excuse me, is something wrong? She said, well, I don't have any currency, I don't have any money, I only have a credit card, and they don't take credit cards. I said, okay, let's take care of that. And I could tell then that her English was pretty good. I said, and I asked a few questions, and I said, where are you going? And she said, well, we just came back. Visited my husband. I wanted my son to see his father for the first time in 5 months. I go, where is he? And I don't recall where he said he was fighting, but he was fighting. I said, where are you going? She said, well, I have an apartment now in England, and we're going there. I said, oh boy, and plans? She says, I don't know. But she said this to me. Okay, number one. She said, you're American. I said, yes. She said, I want to thank you and your country for your incredible support. God bless you. At that point, I said, I'm going back. I'm going to go in and try to help some way. So that was September. I came back. You know, the next few months, I tried to figure out how to get in. I was frustrated because number one, you start to research stuff. You don't speak Polish. You don't speak Ukrainian. You're not an EMT. You're not a doctor. They don't want you. You reach out to the State Department. Hell no, they don't want to reply to you. They don't want you walking around the country. So I asked Robin. She knew I was frustrated with it. And serendipity happened for the first time. By the way, folks, I've got stories I've been going for a long time, so I'm going to try to make this one short, because I so much appreciate that you're here. But I responded to a friend's post on LinkedIn, and from that link, what he had stated, I responded to his former coworker, and there was a mention of Ukraine, and I responded that I was there, and I ended up with Slava Ukrainian, which is glory to Ukraine. Someone responded back and said, wanted to connect right away, found out he was Ukrainian. He had immigrated here in '99, started a trucking business of all things, logistics company, and just sold the company to a friend of mine. So it was a really nice connection. I said, can we talk? Got on the phone, and I told him what I wanted to do. He said, Jim, you sure? I go, yes. I can help make that happen, he said. I said, okay, let's rock and roll daddy up. So it really came down to two easy things for me. It was, how the hell can you get me across the border? Because, Jim, I got a guy. We all like a guy. I got a guy. Okay. He goes, he doesn't speak any English, and that's totally one of the nicest guys on earth. I said, well, he said, I still have a business in Lviv. He said, I have a staffing business, and I've got somebody there I'll connect you with. Be like your safety net, can answer questions for you, really kind of guide you for what you need. And so back and forth we went, we connected, by the way, we're connected on other apps, and everything that you do there is on encrypted apps, by the way, so that you can't be tracked, especially for Americans. So I'm on more apps I have no idea. I'm on Signal, Telegram, I'm on Viber, and, but anyway, receive that guidance, and that was it, other than getting guidance on a hotel to start off at. It was like, okay, let's go. People ask me, were you with any organization? No, I just went. And, so I'll stop there for a moment. I've got a few more things to say before we can get into this act, get into this play. On my return here, after 4 weeks, I realized that I was still emotionally attached to Ukraine, to the people there, and my experience. It felt like I had all this stuff up here. It was like a year, maybe, that was packed in, all this different stories, different experiences. It was jumbled. I know in speaking with some of you good friends, I teared up very easily. I couldn't put two words together. I could make a sentence. And I realized I needed to calm down. I needed to figure things out. And finally, I was able to group things, I think, into 3 buckets. And I'll refer to them as my 3 stories and my 3 acts. Let's call it a play. And so first one is living in peace. The second one is war. And the third act is volunteering. Now with any play, the first act's always pretty good. Bad stuff usually happens in the second act. But we got a good recovery in the third. So that's how I'm going to present it tonight. All right? So let's get started. I'll show you a picture of Oleg. And this is living in peace. And I'm going to refer to a few photos. And by the way, all in all, there's probably 80, 90 photos here. I've got thousands I could sort through, friends and things. A couple of things that I want to point out. The main thing I want to point out is the normalcy of life in Ukraine. Not just in one town, little villages, going across country. It's beautiful country, beautiful. Flowers and parks, people, grandparents walking the kids. Restaurants are open. Here's the Opera House, beautiful Opera House in Lviv. I went to the symphony one night. Life goes on. People go to work. People go to school. Even in the worst areas, they try to live. They try to have a sense of normalcy. So I've got two videos, short ones that I'd like to share. Let's play the first one first. Anybody recognize places like that? Yeah, there's people living. Let's go ahead and play the next one. This is a scene when I'm walking home, and by the way, curfews and those types of things have been eased a little bit. Alcohol, you can get a drink up until 10 o'clock. Restaurants close at 11. You better be off the streets at midnight. Violation one time. I didn't have a passport, my phone was good. That was not good. But walking home one night, heading to my hotel, came across this. Recognize daughter, granddaughters might be doing that? I think so. It's a love song. I got the words for in Ukrainian. It's just, teenage, young people love those types of songs. But again, talking about the sense of normalcy there. Finally, on this poster, I refer to her as the woman in red. It was a Sunday. It might have been Mother's Day, but I was walking and I came across this woman. I moved that picture up a little bit, and you can see that she's praying. She's actually praying to the statue of Christ. And that's what I want to impress upon you, that in Ukraine there's religious freedom. The churches are open, and it seems like they all get along. They all get along. And I did my best to try to visit the church every day. I'm sure I missed a couple, but people did. And I think that's the one thing that I wanted to really mention to you about their faithfulness. And to me, that picture really touched me and stayed with me. By the way, as I said, I was in 3 decent-sized cities. Kyiv is 3 million, Lviv is about 700,000, Rivness 200. There are no tent cities there. I didn't see any drug addicts. There's no crime. You know, there's some petty stuff. But I never felt safer in my life walking down the streets of these big cities. Clean. So, you know, we all know the challenges we have here in some places. But there, that's what I found. Okay. That'll take care of Act 1. We're good so far? All right. Well, then there's war. Then there's war. This is the dichotomy of life. By the way, you can't quite see it, but some of you guys know about the Ukrainians down here that were on Snake Island, and when they were telling the guys to surrender, what they said? Yeah, right there, baby. Right there. That's a pretty popular word there. In fact, does anybody know Putin's first name? Oh, no. It starts with an F in Ukraine. Let me tell you. Also, Iranian drones, same word, right in the front end. They have a first name too. But, yeah. So before I get into some of the heavy stuff, let me tell you about this was my wake-up call to war. I was told to get the, where am I here? Right here. I was told to get the air alert app on my phone. Okay? Got it. I'm in bed. I don't know, it's settled, TV goes off at 11:30, 12 o'clock. About 1:30 first night, I guess sirens, you know, like the tornado sirens here, you don't really hear them, you hear them a little bit. Then all of a sudden, your overconfidence is your weakness. Proceed to the shelter. Your overconfidence is your weakness, I said. Proceed to the shelter. Okay. I'm serious. You're lying in bed, and you go, holy shit. Am I going to go to the shelter? There is one here. They say, if you don't, you should go to another room. Well, that would be the toilet. You just sit there, or you just like lay there. And you do. You kind of calm. And I did the first night. And then I heard anti-aircraft. You hear those instant boom. While they're in the boom, boom. And that's what happens. Now, a little bit of fun there, right? But it affected me. I want you to think about the families that are there, kids. Every day. All the time I was there, I think there were 3 days in any city that I was in that didn't have an air raid siren, right? And I can tell you from Joe's, when he spoke, they're getting them quite a bit, you know, and they were hard to keep it, you know, multiple times a day. But think about the children. So here's what mothers have to do. They got to figure out, do I go to a basement of the apartment? That's kind of my shelter. They go out across the street to where a good shelter is, because hopefully they have problems with some being robbed. Or do they go in the hallway and have their kids sleep? And then they get them up and they have to go to school. How do you think that's going to affect the kids? I think it's going to be a problem. And the worst days are when it happens twice. Everybody is sleep deprived. But life goes on. And again, I talk about the dichotomy from normal life to war. Some pictures. So I talked about normal life. There's soldiers getting a cup of coffee. So interspersed with normal life, yeah, you see that. You see these folks, you know, walking the streets. A particular picture that touches me deeply is this one right here. This is a soldier going back to war with his little daughter and his wife, the teddy bear. And you saw that. You could see the stress on the families of mothers and fathers' faces. You could see it. I saw it many times. And that's what they're dealing with. Right now, I want to introduce you to two Americans. On the left is call sign Memphis. On the right is call sign Tennessee. You don't use your real names. They're two Americans, volunteers in the 2nd Battalion International Brigade. I met them, same type of thing, almost like those kids. I'll talk about a little bit later, volunteers. But I have a video. This video is 4 minutes, the longest video that we'll have. After this is the one that's going to be there. This is Tennessee, rock and roll. Hello, this is Jim Gamache. I'm here in Lviv, Ukraine. I just met Tennessee, Colstown, Tennessee. He's been here since the first 5 days of the war. Tennessee is from Fort Myers, Florida. Oh, by the way, he has a CDL, and he's had a perfect driving record. Isn't that right, Tennessee?
It is true. I've taken since 2010, never had a DUI. Through flatbeds. I've driven reefer trucks. Done a bunch of trucking. I love it. It might come in handy here, who knows? They do need things to move from place to place. That's one asset I can bring to the battlefield. I got here March 1st of last year. That's as fast as I could get here. As soon as Zelensky said he wanted help and was willing to accept anyone to come be an assistance, I booked a flight. Actually took a leave of absence from Western Express, who I was working for at the time, and just jumped on the first plane I could get over here. And I fell in with a lucky group of individuals. Ended up working for SSO and doing a lot of odd jobs here in Ukraine for most of last year. I came home after my town, Fort Myers, got hit with Hurricane Ian last year. I lost everything in that. I lost my job, my house, my car, everything got wiped out. So I went home to see if I could put all that back together. Kind of couldn't, literally, I'm not there anymore, so I came back over here and joined in with the international battalions, in the 2nd Battalion now. And it's a good place to be, a bunch of good people. It's an interesting place. So we got a lot of people from all over the world that all come together for this like common cause. You got people from all over the Commonwealth. Everybody speaks English to some degree. It's an interesting group of guys, like very dedicated people, just big-hearted people. Never meet better people than these. And it's tough times for us, so we're kind of, I don't want to say we're last on the list of people that get allocations or something, but we're just not the biggest priority. And so a lot of what we get done, we have to do ourselves. It's kind of a very ad hoc organization where we got to make things work. One of our guys bought a loader the other day so he could keep the door from falling off our van so that it was still drivable to get us to and from places in just deplorable conditions. I mean, being in the back of this van is just drinking carbon monoxide and stuff. It's rough, but we're making it work. But we could use some help, I'll tell you that much for sure. But we do what we can.
Have you lost any of your comrades?
Yeah. Lots of people have been alive. Definitely had some friends hurt, but had some friends that are no longer with us, and some that are missing, and we're fingers crossed for them. Hopefully they're in captivity and not dead. But try to get your hopes up. But you try to give up on me either. You have some people that are currently listed as missing, which sucks.
Yes.
Never really get away from the feeling like you could have done something about it if you've been there or whatever, but I guess that's all wars.
Tennessee, I want to thank you for your commitment and all that you and Memphis are doing, and all the others that are sacrificing to overcome evil. That's Tennessee. I still stay in touch with them. I was just looking at my phone. This is, let's see. I'm telling him, hey, I said, hey, you're in my thoughts and prayers. Do what needs to be done. He goes, absolutely. I'll be in the offensive Friday, pushing trenches with our same platoon as before. Slava Ukraine. So, pretty cool guy. Pretty cool guy, an American. So, okay. I wanted to share that with you. Now for a tough part for me. Lviv, I would be going to the food kitchen, or there's a central place right on Square in Lviv, and City Hall's there, and there's a picture down here. I'm sorry it's not larger, but one day I came across and I saw a man standing by the poster. That poster on the other side is a deceased dead soldier from that area, Lviv. So I went and I looked. It's this guy right here. I believe he's 40 years old. Looked at his picture, it's all in Ukrainian, so I went on my way. Next day I came and boy, the poster's up again. You know, they're keeping it there. A different one is this guy, 59 years old. So, next day, I'm walking, and I go, God, I pray. I hope it's not another one. It's this young man. Every day. The worst days? Came walking, and there were two. The very worst day was when there was three. These are all local guys, all little civilians like us, that said, we're going to fight for our country. They weren't drafted, they said we're going to fight. One other picture I have to point out here. It's a young man that was in Kyiv, and in Central Square, I'm trying to think of the name of it, give me a second, major, beautiful. And there were thousands of Ukrainian flags with deceased soldiers, and I came across this one. This is a young man, Ed Wilton. He was killed the week before I was there, 21 years old, from Jacksonville, Florida. But there's soldiers from all around the world. Colombia, it's amazing. I mean, you think Colombia, but yes, there are. From all the Commonwealth countries. So, I wanted to share that with you. Two more things I want to share with you. Highlight. This guy right here, I'm sitting at a restaurant outside having a drink. Joe might have been there that night. Either he or someone else said, Jim, come here. I got to introduce you to this guy. Why? This guy blew up 7 Russian tanks with RPGs. He's a civilian. He blew up 7 of them. I said, can I buy you a beer? Of course. And I got that news. Pretty cool dude. And I think that the point I want to make, and I'm going to share a short video with you, they're brave people. They will fight for their freedom. I've said this to many people. They have the resolve. They will not lose. If you have any doubt, there's 2 things I'll point to. I'm going to show you a video. Also, there's a Netflix documentary. It's called Winter on Fire. It's about how the president at that time was taking away freedom and moving towards Putin. And there were demonstrations. And so many people like us, over 120 people, innocent people, were killed, over 1,000 wounded. You'll see then, knowing that they had just gotten their freedom in 1991, they weren't giving it up. They weren't going back. Now, though, I want to show you the fight that the Ukrainians have in this counteroffensive. And if I was a Russian soldier, you make the call on what you'd be doing after you see this.
Україна, рідна земля мати, Господь, Отець наш Небесний, благословіть. Благословіть! Я йду знищувати! Твої землі! Ми твої братів! Вам вірні мої просите! Нехай рука моя буде твердою! Щоб вбивати ворогів! Нехай око моє буде ясним! Щоб вбивати ворогів! Нехай зброя моя буде справною! Щоб вбивати ворогів! Нехай воля моя буде сталь! Щоб вбивати ворогів! Україно! Рідна земля мати! Господь, Отець наш Небесний! Благословіть! Наш рішучий народ! Нашу священну помсту! Нашу святу перемогу!
For those that maybe couldn't see the English subtitles, I'll paraphrase it very briefly. You killed my brothers, you raped my sisters, and in the name of God, we're coming for you. So to me, that was something. They They will not lose, I'll tell you that. So, end of Act 2. Let's move on. Act 3, volunteering. Now this is one of those where I have to go back a little bit into Act 2. I have to go back to war. But the very first thing I want to talk about volunteering is that picture. And right here, Northern Ireland, attorney, medical technician, Germany, social worker, Toronto, Canada. And this young lady, Sadat, 25 years old, Heather, still there. They got together. That was the first day they were together, by the way, working at the frontline kitchen. They went to have a drink. I heard English. Of course, I needed a beer the first night I was there. I found an Irish bar that was one. I heard English. I said, hey, can I join you? I'll buy you a drink. Why would you do that? I'm hoping you just talk to me then. They were so nice, but it's indicative of the volunteers that are there, freely giving of themselves. My German friend, Manuel, I gave him a hard time for that name. I'm not familiar with a guy named Manuel in Germany, or in Germany, but he's 43 years old. The other guys are in their 30s, but there's older folks there. I certainly wasn't the oldest. People well in their 70s. One guy from the United States, they call him Jeremiah Johnson's there, 77. So, I now have to say way back to my most profound day, and I've got to use these two charts, because part of my profound day was volunteering, and part of it was war. It wasn't the worst, but I said the most profound day. So, one of the volunteering efforts I went through, I did 5 different things, I guess, with groups. Went to Keith and volunteered with an organization called Brave to Rebuild. And on weekends, young people in Ukraine, if they're not going to school or working, they get together in groups of maybe, I don't know, enough to fill 3 bus loads. And there's some international volunteers, there's more coming, especially now during the summertime. And a young French guy got me to go along with him. And let me start the day out. Checked in the hotel, major air raid. Major air raid. And the person that was also with us, she's calling, why aren't you in the shelter? And all of a sudden there was a huge boom, and I felt the building, you felt a shimmer or shake. So that was a wake-up call that morning. But we got a cab, and we went out to the central point, and we all met. They got us in the buses, and we started driving north toward Bucha, the Bucha area, the other little towns that are there. And you could start to see some of the military equipment, the camo and dugouts and things. And then it just got worse. And then you started to see a building that was destroyed, and then maybe some more. Well, anyway, we were the last group that got dropped off, a group of 12, the third last group off. And we got dropped off at a home. Here's the home we got dropped off at. And so we helped this. This is a year ago, a year from when I was there. And the gentleman's name was Serge. Where's Serge? Serge is over here. And we did nothing but work. And here I am. We're cleaning up. We're trying to help him. And that explosion, he had 3 children and his wife. They all lived, but it blew off the back part of his house. He's trying to rebuild it. He's got glass in it now. They're living someplace else. We were working there. And 2 things that impacted me. One, I took a break and walked down the street. Every house was like that, destroyed, shrapnel holes everywhere. And you realize you're in Bucha, and this is where atrocities were committed. This is where people were gunned down, old men riding their bikes, women raped. And yeah, I felt it. Came back, and we're working. It was hot, really warm. There's a picture of me. I'm goofing off. I'm out here sitting. But Serge also brought out some food. This guy had nothing. He's a little skinny guy. He's working his butt off. Brought out some bread, some meat and cheeses. We were hungry. He didn't want to take his food. He felt bad. You're hungry. Well, it was one of those loaves and fishes types of things from the Bible, because other volunteers had brought things. They brought stuff out, and we all shared, and we all had enough. So it was pretty neat. So at the end of like 6.5 hours of working, We came around, we had a bus, and some were going to pick us up. It took a while, but Serge came, and he was thanking us in Ukrainian. We're asking, you know, there's just two of us in English, spoke English. We're trying to get the translations. He's telling us how much he appreciates us. And he's telling us how much he loves us. And this gentle man then said, he's telling them, but please, I need to take you down the road. Please walk with me. And we walked down a dirt road, a little more than half a mile. It's a nice dirt road to walk. They said there's a forest there that he wants to share with us, show us. We got to this wooded area, but it was burnt. There were trees that were broken off. And it was where 80 Ukrainian soldiers were killed in a major battle. And it's just still raw. And there are pictures of, you know, makeshift memorials. Some, you know, this soldier, some flowers. You look at the dugouts and you go, this is where it was hell on earth. That they died right here defending their country. So, remember I talked about the dichotomy of war and peace? Went back, met two other volunteers that night, or four of us, and we had a nice dinner. We had some Ukrainian food, we had drinks, we had laughs, we had a good time, and we felt okay. But that was the day that I won't forget, May 21st. Okay, let me tell you about the volunteers. Let me get back on track here. I'm sorry. So back to normalcy. I volunteered with 5 organizations. Brave to Rebuild. Spent a couple of days at Ukrainian Catholic University at a warehouse, packing some boxes, moving boxes, tactical, medical, food, clothing, toys. They try to help each other, get stuff out to folks. I did camouflage netting. I'm very bad at it. I got demoted twice, but the Ukrainian lady goes, no, not tight. No, that's the wrong pattern. You know, of course, they don't speak English. I did that, and I did pack this organization called Razom, means together in Ukraine. We packed individual soldiers' medical kits, and you had 15 items that had to go in that package. You had to be in there the right way. And they said, do not miss one. It was like, you were very careful. And on the very top, put in 2 tourniquets. They said, do not leave out those tourniquets. Those are life-saving. You know, the patches and all that. So that was a couple of days that we did that. Yeah, it's ransom. But I want to talk about these folks right here. Next slide. Frontline kitchen. Now you see some traditional Ukrainian wear. They're not all Ukrainians. In fact, it was a day when everybody from Ukraine was supposed to, you wear that cultural stuff. The woman on the left, she's from Latvia. The 2 people, a nice looking couple right here, they're from Romania. The guy in the back, United States. The smiling guy in the back, Germany. A couple of Ukrainian women, England, France, the very guy, back American, and this guy is my favorite. That's Richard, and he was referred to. You saw him on the other video. He is a cool Brit. 29 years old. He was playing volleyball in Spain. When the war started, he said, "I'm going," and he's been the one that has been he's been the stirrer of the drink, helping the 2 Ukrainian women that started Frontline Kitchen actually in 2014, and it's expanded to where they make all these meals. So you see this down here? That's what your hands look like with cutting beads. But I'll tell you what, it makes you humble, because that's all you did. You know, whatever your profession was, it didn't matter. You cut beets, you cut mushrooms, you peeled onions, you cut garlic. Every day you're moving stuff. So I'll come back to that. But I think it's a good time. I want to share a couple of props with you. So here are those damn beets. So if you want to volunteer, anybody, I don't expect anybody would, but you never know somebody that might want to volunteer. I've got the information of how you can volunteer. There now is a decent website for people that are non-Ukrainian, don't speak Polish, people like me. I can help you to do similar things that I did. Again, I did them all on my own. So you can volunteer. Or the second thing that you can do, this is a tourniquet. Now, I'm just going to package this all up as that, yeah, we can donate. This is a Cat 7 tourniquet. Anybody guess how much this costs? You bought one in China, probably $70, but guess what? It doesn't work and you die. This is a Cat 7 tourniquet and it's about $35. They don't have enough of them. When I go, I'll take this one, just so it can be used. So we can all donate. If you don't, well, the third thing, I was going to say there's only three things. The fourth thing. The third thing is you can let your elected officials know about the need for us to continue to support Ukraine. That's very, very important. You heard that earlier. But the thing that you can all do, we can pray. We can pray. It makes a difference. It truly does. And just so happen to have one of my favorite Bible passages, Matthew 25, verse 40.
You just can't help it.
The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of my brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. So, I want to share that with you. Okay, leader.
All right.
That's the cross.
Oh, something just came across.
Oh.
We have a message from, Richard?
I don't know, you tell me.
Let's see.
Oh.
Hello to Jim and his wonderful, beautiful friends at Stonebridge Country Club. His experience in Ukraine, and he's reached out very kindly to say that you beautiful people are all in one group today, and I heard that you might be trying to help us out. There's a long list of things that the kitchen needs and our guys in the front need, so what I'll do is I'll send that over, and Jim will put it in some slideshow perhaps. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your support for Ukraine, from Ukraine. We're currently in our big humanitarian bus on the way to Earthsong to deliver humanitarian aid. And as always, I'm joined with the wonderful Alex and Ernest. So don't forget, guys. Don't forget. Holiday. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing all your beautiful faces in Ukraine soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. A few words I learned. So this is hard for me. I've never done this before. Certainly in business, I gave plenty of talks. I yelled at people and said we need to do this to get more sales, do things. But he did send us a list. He sent me a list of things that they need to expand the kitchen. We talked about the 10 to 20,000 meals they're trying to expand. It's not just for soldiers. They, as you know, he was bringing supplies to Kherson. They were heavily, impacted by the dam blowing up. So this goes on day in and day out. But before I go on ways you can help, I want to share the list. But remember, I said I had music that I wanted to play twice. I'd like to play it now.
This is awesome.
Freedom calls. my college. We need some help on way down, for sure. But we do what we can.
Okay, that is it, other than, this is how you can contribute, and thank you for any help that you can give, but we've got handouts for that. I'm through with my presentation, but shortly open some Q&A if anybody has. Thank you to all of you. It touched me deeply. I know I'll have some time and tears when I get home tonight. But again, thank you. I want to thank the club for being able to help me sponsor this tonight. So great friends, very much appreciated. Love you all. Thanks. Yeah, my favorite, I came from a family of faith. My mother was, I went to Catholic schools. I was in a school at St. Pete Academy by Benedictine monks, and I know about work and pray and taking care of people, and so that guided me a lot. So,
I would think they have to.
yeah.